everyone. Welcome to episode 5 of Nobody Asked Us with Des and Kara. How'd you like that inflection? Are you a fan of that, or
I loved it.
Was it different for you?
I hate starting stuff, just like I hate the on cameras. So I don't know. You might have to be our permanent welcome everybody person.
Nobody asked us. Nobody asked us. We could work on that. So we're just going to see how this goes. It's slightly mapped out. I think a little bit of feedback we have gotten is I like how unpolished you guys are, which is like kind of backhanded, but that's okay. We're going to take it, and this one's going to be unpolished. So I do want to start with the story that kind of circles back to this broadcast episode, and also getting to know you still, because that's kind of, we're facilitating that as we do these. You shared this story when we met in Colorado. You said, I really wish we were on a broadcast together, because afterwards everyone messages, or like they try to connect. They're like, hey, what are you doing for dinner? Let's meet up. And you're like, I really just want another person to not to, so it's okay for me to go back to my room and just eat in my room by myself. And I was like, oh, that would be me, like 100%. And I didn't know. So the question that I'm teeing up here is, I'm assuming that you identify as an introvert, and not that you just really dislike your coworkers. Is that correct?
Correct. I actually love my coworkers. As you know, they're great people, but I am an introvert. I never used to describe myself that way. I would describe myself as shy. And the only time I'm not really shy is when I'm talking about running. But yeah, like at track meets, and Trey and Paul and Lee and Otto and Sonia will all know that they'll be like, and Lewis, they'll be like, want to go grab dinner? And I've already ordered my DoorDash and it's waiting outside my room. And I'm like, I don't know. Like, I'll make up a million things, but the reality is I just need to go be by myself and decompress. And so that's why, another reason why I think Des and I would make a great dream team on the broadcast, because we would be like, good job, bye.
See you next time. Just like these podcasts.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming a show is a big thing. You have to get your energy up, and like you're super invested. You've been studying, you do all this stuff. Do you take any energy from that? Or is it just like how long do you need to like hit reset to regroup from that? Like, I mean, if extrovert would be like, Allie on the Run would be like, oh my God, let's go run now. Or let's go to a party.
Yeah. No, I need to be alone. So if it's like a morning thing, maybe I'll go work out afterwards by myself. But usually I'm not even lying. I've already DoorDashed because I've set the timer ahead of time. And I just want to go back and rest. And it's not even like I need to sleep. It's just like I need to rest. I think I love being in exciting environments, but it drains me. And there have been a couple times, like at the Olympics or at the World Championships, where these long events where I have days where I am actually kind of faking the energy, because I'm like, I need to be alone. I just like need to be alone and eat some chocolate and not talk to anyone. Yeah. So no, I don't get, maybe like at first I get some energy. It's exciting to be around people who are excited, and that's fun. But I definitely have hit my breaking point where I need to go recover and just take some me time. What about you? You the same way?
I respect that. I'm so drained after a show, or after an appearance, even pressers, when you do the press conferences, like they weigh on me like a long run. Like it's a lot for me. It's interesting because I think and I was kind of piecing through this. Like, nobody really gets into running thinking like, oh, I'm going to do a bunch of events and kind of be in the spotlight and do interviews and maybe one day be famous. And I use that in quotes. But what was the first time? It's got to go all the way back to high school, where you started doing interviews and realizing there was another side to the sport. Like, oh, I'm achieving at a certain level, and now there's an interest, and now I have to like present myself outside and talk about this thing that's a very solitary sort of pursuit.
Yeah, I think when I first started running, well, like I'm from a small town and the newspaper covered it. Like, it was amazing, right? Like I got to like grow up and see it in the newspaper, but there was a difference between the newspaper and then the news. And I remember doing like a sit down with Tom Hansen, and it was like a after the news sports special. And I was in hell. And when it was on, I never smiled once. He was like trying to make jokes with me. And it made me realize like, that's hard. It's uncomfortable a little bit. Obviously, it kind of grew from there, but definitely. And I would wonder what your big moment was that you think really turned the tables. But obviously, winning a medal at the World Championships, like literally, I was invisible. And the next morning, I was never again. Like, I couldn't even just go to like a small meet down in Eugene and run the 800 as a speed workout. It'd be like, oh, well, here's flow track. What are you trying to do today? Da, 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 da. You know what I mean? And that was really hard. Not that I didn't want people to be interested in me, but it just felt like and I can never just be myself and try things out anymore. People are always watching. And so I wonder for you, do you think it was Boston? Well, I don't know. Maybe you haven't felt that way, but obviously you felt that way in high school some. But as a professional, was there one race that really just completely changed everything and your relationship with media and attention and all that kind of stuff?
I feel like I've been pretty lucky. First, there was no media, which was fantastic. And then you achieve, and that was, I think, Boston 2011. It was like, oh, this is the new hopeful. This is the person with potential. This is maybe going somewhere. So that was like a stepping stone. And then making the Olympic team was another stepping stone. Um, and it all sort of slowly gave me a chance to learn and gradually built. And then after Boston 2018, I was slightly prepared for the moment, but it was still, that moment was so unreal. Like, I remember getting to New York and we had done the morning shows and done a press conference. And then we took an early train to New York, got up there, did a few things, and then went to dinner finally at the end of the day. And we walked into a sushi restaurant. It was packed, and like they were playing like the news, and it was the first time I was aware that everyone was looking at me like, I might know you, maybe I know you, and then there would be like a little whisper and a nudge, and I'm like, oh, like people actually saw that, and now I can't be a douche. Like,
Yeah,
I
no,
should
that stopped your
pay
douchery.
attention. Pay attention to my behavior more.
I mean, you were
um,
everywhere. I remember you hugged Taylor Swift. Taylor Swift
Taylor
hugged
Swift
you.
hugged me, and it was like a side hug because she's very tall, and there's this, like, just matches up poorly if you do the real hug. That was a weird moment too. I've never felt more out of place. People are like, break a leg. I'm like, wait, you don't say that to a runner. Um, yeah, that was a big moment, obviously, and I think that no one's really prepared for that. Um, do you feel like you had stepping stones in how you've engaged in like community and with fans? Do you feel like you've learned along the way, or is it something you've just always done the same and this is my boundaries and this is how I am?
Oh, no, I've learned. Yeah. Because at first it's like, you don't want to hurt anyone's feelings or come across as a douche or whatever, right? You want to be like, oh, I appreciate that you care how I'm running because that's what pays my bills because there's interest in how I'm going to run. But then over time, it's like, it can like when I think about you giving you give a lot of talks, you go to a lot of events, and um people love it. They can't get enough. But then there is this point where it's like, and now I need to get away. And I think I learned along the way, social media didn't come in until towards pretty much the second half of my career, which I'm really grateful for. I remember hearing about Twitter and being like, why, who would do that? That's so dumb, you know? And then in 2012, I signed a contract with Nissan, which required it. And so that's how I got into social media, was in 2012 with this Nissan contract. And then, that's like a whole nother can of worms because now you are opening yourself up, and people can like immediately write back to you. Like they can't, it's not like an email you'll get later or like snail mail, which I used to get, but it's like instant, like you suck or I love you. It goes either direction, right? But that also is is hard and it's part of the job. So I feel like there was like so many stepping stones along the way. But I do think in '07, when I won a world championship medal, I went to Europe and did a couple of races. Then I went and ran the half marathon. And then I flew to Duluth to see my family. And I was only supposed to be there for 6 days. And I kept changing my flight and changing my flight. And I was there for like 20 days. And I wasn't that I was afraid to go back to Oregon and go back to work, but it was so nice to not talk about the thing and to just like hang out with my family and talk about other things. So yeah, that stands out for me a lot. And I would imagine you've had instances like that as well.
I was just thinking to myself, that's brilliant. Just be like, nope, I'm staying put, change the flight. I don't think I've ever changed a flight on my own because I'm like, no, it's on the schedule. I have to do the thing. But I think it's super important to have those boundaries. Like I definitely, have an hour appearance and we put a person at the end of the line and it's like as soon as the bodyguard at the end of the line gets to me and it's like put the hood on and head out. And it's a tricky dynamic because it's super exciting to have people that follow your career and are interested in you. And like you said, you don't want to disappoint them, but you do have to protect your energy levels because, like you said, by the end of it, gassed. Um, yeah. So interesting process, definitely a learning experience there. And I think what's kind of fascinating about all of these appearances and doing all the media, like talk about a little bit of the negative side and guarding and protecting your time, but also do you want to weigh in a little bit on how it might impact appearance fees and why it would matter to sponsors or races, particularly races? Because I think people don't necessarily understand the appearance fee aspect.
Yeah, I mean, getting an appearance fee, it's like a symbiotic relationship. Like you bring attention to the event, which, brings in a lot of media interest, which brings attention to the event. And therefore they sort of pay you for that. So you they want you to be posting. They want you to be exciting. They want you to be engaging with everybody because the more that you have people following you and paying attention and curious about what you're going to do next, the more you're going to get paid. Just is what it is. But it's a fine line because you can start to lose yourself worrying about just stupid stuff, right? Like posting. I mean, I think we should talk a little bit about appearance fees. But I wonder, have you felt like you've always stayed true to yourself on social media? Or do you feel like sometimes you've done stuff that you were just like, I just had to do it?
Oh yeah, there's definitely things that you just have to do.
Mm-hmm.
I try not to partner with any product. I guess I should put it the positive way. I only partner with products and events um, that I really believe in so that I can post in a fairly authentic manner. But you do get the schedule, right? It's like 2 times a month. And you're like, that's too much. Like, I just
Yeah.
can't talk about this product that much. Like, it's cool, but it's not that cool. Um, so like there's times where I'm like, I'm really forcing this. And I try to do it in a way that like is almost tongue in cheek or like, I feel like a lot of photographers give me images and they're like, well, most of these are you're doing something really dumb. So you're probably not going to be able to use that. And then I'm like, oh no, I got the perfect caption for this. Like, and then I'll just kind of poke fun at myself, but also talk about the product. And I think like that's my personality. So like I'm just a goof in general. So it comes off okay. But there's times where it's just a reach, and it does feel like this is starting to be work. And it shouldn't be because the whole point of social is like to have some fun and connect and engage. So there's in between times where I'm able to just say exactly what's on my mind. Like the other day, I put ice cream for dinner tired because Ryan wasn't here for me to say that to. So I was like, I'm putting that on social. Um, but then there's kind of this other element of it. Like, how much of yourself do you give? How much do you let people into your life and your mind and your thoughts? And that can weigh on you as well. I don't know if you've experienced that at all.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Like I'm from Minnesota. We're just like nice to each other. Even if we don't like each other, we're just like, hi, nice, whatever. And I've had like my feelings just absolutely thrashed on social media. And so it's like hard, like, okay, if I'm going to stand up for something or if I'm going to share something, it's been a big learning process for me. Like Adam always will get frustrated because he'll be like, there's 80 people that support you and one person that was an asshole and you're fixated on the asshole. And I'm like, I know, but I just I can't let it go. And I used to respond. But then I learned that you're never going to get the last comment. Like they're always going to come back and comment again. And then now I've just like rolled in the pigs with the mud, like now I've just done exactly what they wanted. But I think I've gotten thicker skin, but my true soul has very, very paper thin skin. So I still get my feelings hurt. And yeah, it is sort of this battle of like, I want to share this. I think someone might relate to it, or it's important to me right now, or I really feel strongly about this and I want people to know that I feel strongly about this. And then knowing that there's going to be some blowback. We didn't talk about exactly what we're going to talk about on this episode, but when we talked about being introverted, I thought of you because, and just thinking about social media and stuff. We can edit this out if you hate that I brought this up. I
Go for it.
remember years ago on Twitter, you posted the freaking funniest thing. It was
I
like
know
a
what it's going to
bird
be.
with a backpack.
I almost retweeted this recently.
And Alberto Salazar with a backpack. And all you wrote was who wore it better. And I could not stop laughing at this tweet. But then I remember seeing a lot of people like coming at you and be like, I'm so disappointed in you. You're just jealous, like all these things that piled on. And I don't know why that came to my mind today, but like that's the kind of stuff where you're like kind of feeling a little sassy, but then like that like I feel like you took a lot of shit for that.
I did.
And then were you like, I shouldn't have posted that? Or were you like, no, it's fine? Like, how did you feel in those 24 hours when it caught fire?
It's really funny. It stressed me out. It wasn't, it was this is in my book, but this was the straw that broke the camel's back because there was a lot of shit going on. And I was like, this sums up my feelings. It's a joke. It's not harmful, but this is how I feel.
It was literally
Boom.
a bird with a backpack.
It's hilarious. I'd seen it a couple weeks before, and Jason Gay, the Wall Street Journal writer, had posted this article. It was like a little bird in Kuwait that had a backpack full of ecstasy. And he just wrote pigeon party. And I was like, this is a hilarious photo. And I saved it. I don't know why, but I saved it. And I was like, I'm probably going to use this for something someday. And then all these articles kept coming out with Alberto and his backpack. And I was like, oh, this is perfect. This is the pigeon party. Now's my chance. But I did like it. It was like this final middle finger. And I think I was so stressed about so much that I wouldn't weigh it on the tweet or the comments because I was like, the only way I'm taking that down is if Jim Weber calls me and says, you have to take that down. Like, that's the only way. And I was just like, I own it. That's how I feel. That's what I think about this. And also, it's fucking hilarious. So it's fine. But then I turned my phone off and I was like, oh, I'm going to check that for a while.
Yeah.
So that was my introvert tendency.
Yeah. It's so funny. I remember that so clearly. And I think like I've definitely done stuff like that. That is like a little funny, but like a tad bit of like shows how I feel.
Some edge.
Yeah. A little edge. Yeah. A little snarky. And it's, like I used to be like, why'd I do that? Now I can't, these people are like hammering me. But then I'm always like, but I don't care because I feel that way. And I want people to know that it's like this constant dialogue. And it's so
the devil and the angel.
It's so dumb. And Adam is always just like, why do you give a fuck with this person with their fake name? And it's obviously a burner account or maybe it's someone, but like, why do you care what they think? And I'm like, I don't know actually. But part of it goes back to what you were talking about is that, especially when I was still racing, I want races to want me to come. I want to be valuable. So then I'm dancing this line of like what I really want to say, but also being likable and popular so that people will continue to follow me. So I'll have value. And it's just like this crazy, confusing part of being someone on social with a platform.
Do you think social makes it easier to be an introvert or more difficult? Like, I mean, like in the sport, you could have just days where you go show up to race, do the post race or the pre race press conference, boom, that's your job. But now you do have social, so there's a chance you don't have to interact as much necessarily, but you can put out thoughts in a different way. Do you think it's better or worse for you personally as an introvert?
Oh, that's a great question. I don't think I could have handled the social I have now while I was racing, and certainly not in high school. No way. Um, but I do find it weirdly empowering at times because I can share things that I care about. And I even like sometimes I'll take off comments because I'm like, I know
Mm,
a lot of people are going to
smart.
hate this, but I feel really like strongly that I need to say this right now. I'm wondering for you, my Twitter and my Instagram and my Facebook are all very different audiences, or at least I feel like they are. Twitter is a place where I feel like I can share a little bit more of my feelings outside of sport. Not necessarily like all political beliefs, but I feel comfortable saying like I don't support that or I do support that when it's something I'm really passionate about. I don't just go
Mhm.
tweet about political stuff just to start fires. Where Instagram I feel like is really more about like, I can be a little touchy-feely here. And like I don't have a diary anymore. So here I am sharing my struggles right now, or a lot about cult. And then I feel like Facebook is kind of like is so hit or miss. I kind of try to echo on Facebook what I have on Instagram. And half the time it's really well received, and half the time it's like, you're gonna burn at the stake, have fun in hell. I mean, it's like so harsh. How do you feel across your accounts? Do you feel like you have the same audience? Because I definitely feel like I have different audiences on all three platforms.
I mainly use two. I haven't used Facebook in like 2 years, and then with the book coming out, I was like, oh, I should. There's people there. I should update them. So I did that. It's back in business, but mostly just book stuff. So that's that audience. I don't know them that well. I should re-engage over there. But my Twitter audience, I think, is very different. Like it's pretty snarky every now and then. It's like a little bit of advice. I like that you have to like just get to the point and here's your one liner. Um, and then Instagram is a little more long form. And
Mm-hmm.
I also feel like Instagram, unfortunately, is a little more ad oriented because most
Mm-hmm.
brands are like 3 Instagram posts or like put a picture up and now with reels, oh
Ugh.
man, that's just a tough thing. Like
And
these are the algorithms. Like, oof.
yes. Okay, I just had a meeting last week about your reels perform much better than your static posts. Like we'd like to see them in reel form. And I'm like, damn it. That means I have to find someone to video me, or I have to like put up a camera. Like this is something I'm actually curious about with you, which is kind of getting away from the introvert thing. But like I don't run with a phone. I've never run with a phone. I'm 44. I'm never going to run with a phone. And I do a lot of my working out on my own because it's my time. Like I mean, I like meeting up for casual runs with people. I really do enjoy engaging like that. But 50, at least 50% is just me on my own trying to get something out of myself so I feel better for the day. Um, and when I'm asked to post, I'm like, I don't have any photos. Like I don't have anyone that comes to my workouts, that my little workouts that I may or may not be doing. Like, and so it's hard for me,
I
but
hear a comeback.
well, I'm just saying
So
like,
little workout sweat.
oh, well, some strides at 6:25 pace.
Okay.
But like, I know that there are athletes who hire people to come and film workouts and like do photography every week. And for me, that feels so that just like made me start sweating thinking about that, having someone around watching me in those moments. Like, how is that for you? And like you were saying, you get these photos and you're like, they're terrible, they're perfect. Like because you're like, this shows a different side of me. It's not like the same old post. How do you handle what pictures to choose? Do you ever have someone take pictures of you when you're running? Do you run with your phone?
To
Tell
to
me.
go back to the introvert theme a little bit, I'm not a phone on the run person. Like I'm not a music on the run person. Like that's just where I think I solve problems. I'm in my own head. Come back and like, oh yeah, I have this thing to write down, or I have this idea that is going to make me $1,000,000. Like I just put it in my journal and then forget about it. But that's where I do my thinking. So I'm not a phone person. There was one day this winter where I didn't want to run because it was just so terrible outside. So I'm like, I'll take the dog, I'll take the camera, and then this will be fun. Like this will get me out the door. And then it was just too cold to take my hands out of my pocket. I took one photo and I was like, okay, it's terrible. So no, I don't run with a phone. But I'm also the same way where I don't really have a ton of content. Every now and then we'll get somebody to come and shoot a bunch of stuff at once. And then I have, I posted a picture of me running in the winter over the weekend, I believe. And it's from 2017. But I just feel like a lot of my followers don't know that. I've been like recycling the same photo shoot for a long time. And then you just put like really good content under it. Like, this is actually what I was thinking. And this sort of looks like what I ran in today. So, like,
Right.
this makes some sense. So I recycle a lot of stuff. It's definitely more of a later gram. And I do really think there's value in having a person go and video and compile like a story. I
Mhm.
loved what we did with Billy Yang for the 50K. But it has to be really well thought out and like, this is the end goal. This is what we're trying to do. This is the story we're telling. And then just be really focused and on point, not like, let me follow you around all day and figure out what the story is. That would be way too much of someone being around me. We did this runner. This is kind of a funny story. We did this Runner's World shoot a couple weeks ago. It was in the winter. And they came in the house and they were like, make breakfast, like just hang out with the dogs, do whatever you do. And Ryan loves Instagram and he found this he actually likes TikTok and Instagram. So he's like a reels guy and he found this recipe. He loves to cook, so he found this recipe of a deep fried egg. So you like fry an egg and then you dump it in batter and then you deep fry the battered fried egg, which is disgusting. But we're like, we're gonna make these for the Runners World people, and so he's making these eggs. They just look terrible. He didn't do it. It was not perfected. So he's testing it out and he's making these eggs. And I'm like, they're taking photographs and I'm watching him, but I'm looking longingly into the frying pan at this fucking disaster he's cooking. And the photographer just starts laughing. He's like, you look like you're so hungry. Like you were just staring at that egg because the egg's not in the shot. So you don't know what's being made. He's just like, you just look like you're just so happy about breakfast. And that picture, when I get it, is going to tell an amazing story. I'm going to be like, when you made up your mind, eggs for breakfast, not pancakes or whatever,
Right, right.
like
Yes, that's
that
going to
to
be
me is
great.
fun content. So I've digressed, but I thought that story was funny. Any story where I'm making fun of myself, I can appreciate.
I like that story. I How did you feel like as I got more popular, then I would be on magazine covers or I'd have to do events and I was at an autograph signing. I can't tell if I want to tell the athlete's name or not. It's not anything bad on them. Um, but their agent kept going, "Oh, you love this fame. You love it. It's so great." And I was like, "Well, I mean, like I like meeting people that are nice, but like, I really want to go home. My mom's here and I want to go back to the hotel with her and get Chipotle. Um, and of course the attention is good. The attention helps you pursue more things, but and maybe everybody would say this, but in my gut, when I thought about like the moments that I wanted in my life, it wasn't a magazine cover or an article or a TV spot. It was like feeling that moment. And so I was like really driven through, like, some people want the attention. There's nothing wrong with that. They are driven for that. That's what they want. Um, so I don't know if it's an introvert thing or not, but that definitely was not my goal. And I was very uncomfortable with that at times. And I'm just wondering, like, do you love the fame? Is there parts of it that you're like, this is awesome? You just laughed. Are there parts where you're like, this is awesome? Like, I mean, you can fill a room. That has to feel good at some level. I don't care who you are. But I know my gut is that that's not why you do what you do.
First of all, I think fame is a funny word for either of us because
I know.
it's
We're
like
like, we have
small
100 followers.
potatoes, right? Small potatoes here. But I do understand the question. I'm aware. And I think it's an interesting thing. I remember after I won Boston, I was back in town for the BAA 10K, and I was with Run Weston Chris. His last name is I'm missing
Something
it at
with
the
an
minute.
H. Great guy. Yeah.
Heisler, I believe.
Yes, yes.
Maybe. And he had his little girl with him, and we were walking to an event, and someone was like kind of geeking out, like, "Oh my god, it's Des Linden! Like, can I take a picture?" And sure, no thing, no problem. And we took it, and his little girl like was just hanging out with us, and then she saw this happen, and she was like, "Whoa!" Like people like know who this person is, and she was like, "What's it like to be famous?" And I thought it was just such an interesting thing because you have this whole really, really young generation that wants, like, their goal is to be famous. I want to be a famous YouTuber. I want to be a famous TikToker. I'm like, well, for what? Like,
Yeah.
no problem. If you achieve at a high level and you are known for doing X, like, this is the best person in the world at X, or this person won that race, or this person won that medal. That part is really, really gratifying. Like, breaking the tape at Boston put me on the map, and people saw it, they connected with it, they appreciated it, they loved running, they like to tell me where they were at when they heard that happened. That part's cool because there's something that you achieved that made people interested in you. But I'm not interested in people knowing me or liking me or wanting to meet me just for the sake of being famous. um,
Hmm.
and I think as we get further and further away from that achievement, it should tailor down. That's like the natural progression. And I think that that will be very nice as well. I think I'm really proud of the accomplishment, something I put my heart into and achieved. The fame, quote air quotes there, is the byproduct of doing something really well. And that's like what I tried to tell his little girl. Like, well, if you do something awesome, then people will be stoked to like meet you and want to hear about it, and that's cool. But I don't want to be famous to be famous. That's weird.
Right.
I would imagine that's your experience as well.
Yeah. I mean, I want to relate to people and I want to be the best athlete I can be and I wanted to accomplish as much as I could accomplish, but I wasn't like, "Oh, I hope this gets me on Runner's World again." Or, honestly, you know what pisses me off is that I won NCAA cross country championships and I won a medal in Osaka and I never got on the cover of Track and Field News magazine.
Wow.
That is a magazine that I wanted to be on the cover of. Not to like diss Runner's World. Like all that stuff is exciting, but that's was never like the driving force. And I mean, I remember there was this huge photo up in Mall of America, and my friends like all stood in front of it and took a picture, and I was like, that is so freaking weird. I mean, I love my friends. But it's just the fact that
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen your image all over at places, and it's weird. It's
Do your
it's not.
friends do
Yeah.
your friends
Oh.
ever ask you to sign stuff? Are you like, hey, will you sign this for me? And you're like, dude, like, you're my
Yes.
friend.
Not that much, but yes. A couple of my friends have kids that have started athletics and stuff. So I just kind of like will send them old magazine covers or whatever. But like my mom's friends always, no, I shouldn't call out my mom, but her friends tend to like want something or someone she works with or something like that. Or, and all like, again, all of that's fine. Um, like I used to write the funniest things. Like my grandpa passed away a few years ago now, but he had like till the day he had died, he had this thing where I was like, I know I'm your favorite grandchild. Thanks for hooking me up all these years, or like I would sign to my mom, like, thanks for letting me always be the favorite child. I know our connection. So like just like really like
Yeah.
sassy things. But it's just weird, right? Because like you've worked so hard to achieve something, but even if you've accomplished it, you're the same person. You're still Des who wants to hang out with her dogs and watch her husband awkwardly try to fry an egg. You know what I
I've been
mean?
told I've changed. You've
Really?
changed.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't feel that way about
I
you.
think I'm the same, but I have heard that, which is pretty funny.
Yeah. Well, too
Um,
bad.
yeah. What are you gonna do? I do feel like I'm the same. But I guess this is a from producer sound guy extraordinaire Chris on the back end. Chris McClung. Did I get his name
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
Okay. He had a great question, and we can chew on this, but what advice would you give to an extrovert on how to deal with an introvert?
Yeah.
How we're sensitive. What would you tell somebody who's just like, I want to touch you. I
That's
want
funny
to.
because
Can we hug?
I literally always hug you, and I know you hate it. And it just made me laugh because I'm going to a CU track meet tonight, and I was texting with Mark Wetmore, and I was like, I can't wait to give you an awkward hug. Um, so anyway, um, yeah, like I think the biggest thing is like, don't be offended when we need space. Like I love the people I work with in all avenues, whether it's with Ultra or Wazel or MBC or whatever it is that I'm doing. But then it's like, thank you so much. That was so great. Bye. Like, and now I need some time, and don't be offended by it. Like, I am a really big like sleeper, relaxer, and that's what recharges my batteries, or being able to just sit alone and read. And that's not like glamorous or like cool sounding, but like literally all I want to do is like get in bed and read and sit and not talk to anybody. And so just like giving people space and don't be offended if they don't match your enthusiasm. What would your advice be?
I have a follow up question to that, but I'll hold it.
Okay, great.
Um, I fully agree with that. I think it's just like if I need a break, it's not you, it's me. It's one of those things. I was going to ask you about Adam's energy levels because I have like Ryan is a super extrovert. Like he knows everyone, he loves everyone. His interactions, like we'll be in the same conversation. He's like, "That guy was sweet." I'm like, I didn't get that vibe. So we like balance each other out really well. But last weekend he planned a Friday social event. He's a member of a yacht club, which is really
What?
funny. So he's a member of a yacht club, which I can't say with a straight face. So we went to the yacht club and we had drinks and it was a pizza party. It was great. A lot of people, met a lot of people, chatted a lot of people. And then the next day, he was like, "Oh, we're going to have drinks with Katie and Dan, who are my dear friends, love them, known them forever." And that was fun too. And they had their little son, Howie, had drinks, went to dinner with them. And then by Sunday, like I feel like it threw off my entire week this week. I've been a little off kilter all week because I was like, dude, you like planned a lot of stuff. Like I need a break. And so like that's the same story, same lesson in a different story, but like today on Sunday we get a day off and you respect my need for that. And it's not, again, it's like it's not you, it's me, and this is what I need. So it's a balancing act and just not taking it personally. I think that's the advice. But where does Adam fall in? Like, do you guys match up? Like, balance? Is he the extrovert?
Adam makes me seem like the biggest extrovert. He is like, so what's funny is like you get him out and he's very charismatic and he appears to be an extrovert. Like, well, we're going to this track meet tonight. I promise you, he's gonna be shaking hands and kissing babies. But getting him to go is like a battle. Like, if we could just live in a log cabin, Adam would be like, okay, let's do it. Let's never talk to anyone again. Let's just hang out and not talk to anyone. And I'll work on the property all day long. And you and I will only talk at dinner. I mean, like, he just is like, yeah, where I'm more like, hey, how's your day? He's like, fine. So he's definitely, I would describe him as not an introvert or an extrovert though. Because when he gets around people, he really does feed off of people's energy. And I'm always like, yeah, you are cool. Like, that is the guy I married. He's fun. But yeah, no, he thinks that I do too much, travel too much. But he also like was obviously a really good athlete, but in a very different time. There wasn't social media. The internet was just like, he doesn't have, his races weren't shown everywhere. So I think had he like been more of our generation or like a little bit younger, maybe he'd be different. But like he can't stand social media. He thinks it's like so ridiculous. Like he posts once a year, usually on Mother's Day, or on my birthday or Colt's birthday. Like that's about it, like trying to like make sure everyone knows like, no, I'm still alive and I care about my son and my wife. But yeah, Ryan could drag him out and then he would be good. It's just like getting him out.
So there's this book. It's called The Quantity Theory of Insanity. It's fiction, so not real, but there's this. The theory is that when you get in social groups, there's a finite amount of sanity. So, like, if someone is very sane, then someone else has to. They can only pick up whatever's left, so everyone else is a little insane, and then it can shift based on like the circumstances. But there's only a finite amount, and they pass it all around, like in these social settings, and then you leave the social setting, and then you go to a different one, and they have like their own finite amount of sanity. But I like my theory is that there's the same thing, but with a word quota, like words spoken throughout the day. And I'm going to really impact Ryan's day with this podcast. He's going to have to come way down, and then I'm going to be high for this week. But then next week, he's going to be through the roof, and I'm not going to say anything for a long time. So that's my theory on the balancing act of like extrovert, introvert, and Ryan picks up a lot of slack for me. How do you feel
Well,
about
that's
that?
good. I think that's good. I think you need that. I think like I know that you've been through this. Like you go to these events and you're around people all the time and people would be like, "Well, what do you want to do here and there?" And Adam goes, "She just wants to go back to the hotel room and lie down."
I
She
love
doesn't
it.
want to talk to anyone, like and so you need someone that kind of gets that and maybe he can then be the energy guy. But yeah. I You've been with Ryan for so long, I've been with Adam for so long, and you do kind of just start to weave in and understand. Like when Adam comes home and only grunts, it's like, okay, yeah, it was a bad day or whatever. And if for some reason he is chatty, I'm like, wow, I should hold on to this. Like you just get to know and read people, right? Were you like, I'm just thinking back to my childhood, and I remember actually being in college and wanting a pizza, and I could not call the number to order the pizza because I hated having to talk to people. And my mom was like, "You are 19 years old. You are a college sophomore. You can call." And we were like getting in this fight. And then fast forward 10 years now, you can just order the pizza online. It's like changed my life. But were there things that you did? Like, I actually took a job in college to be a tour guide at Celestial Seasonings because I was like, I'm weird. I'm a really bad interview. I'm a really bad interview. Unless you're in my little group of running friends, like I have a really hard time talking to you, making eye contact and stuff. And I'm gonna, so I had got this job, and I remember the guy going, "I think you'll do great, but just could you like smile a little bit?" And I was like, "Yeah, I can do that." Were you always an introvert, and then have you done things along the way to adjust to the life that you have now, where you do need to be around people a lot?
Yes, I like you were giving the phone call story, and I was like, "That's me." Like I hated using the phone. Um, and my sister was a crutch because she would always just like take care of me. I was the little sister, so she was like, "We'll go out now," and she'd be like, What are you gonna have for dinner?" Like looking at the menu, and I'll say what I'm gonna have, and then the waitress will come and she'll order for me. I'm like, "Well, I could do it now. We're there." But it's like this tendency where she just like picked up the slack. So I kind of that was a crutch for a long time, and I did realize I think working with Josh changed it a lot for me. We would do these power bar panels at expos all the time, and kind of Q&A stuff, and they would ask me a question, I'd give a really practical answer, and it would be like a couple lines and like, yeah, that's useful. And then they would ask Josh a question, and he's super charismatic and he likes to talk, and he's like just salesman. And he would go off and people would be laughing and they'd be crying, and I'm like, dude, this guy's getting way more mic time than me. And so then it was more of like a challenge. And I also saw the value in it. I was like, I get it. He's selling product, really. Like we're talking about Power Bar, but we want people to believe in Power Bar and love Power Bar. And I like it's what I feel about it, but I need to find a better way to express it. And so it was very fortunate. We do a ton of these panels, and Josh and I could go and give one right now and probably like riff off each other really well. And that was like very eye opening. And you have to give more of yourself if you want to do this well. I do think a product we're both working on right now that we're probably both kind of wrestling with how to do it correctly and authentically, but not like stuff it down people's throat is our books. This is like big sales pitch every hour. Like talk about
Mm-hmm.
your book, but don't make people feel intimidated by your ads, but sell books, but like Are you struggling with that? What's your balance? How do you feel about it?
Big time struggle. I, of course, want my book to do well for my publisher who believed in the story. And I've been told multiple times that pre-order sales are super important for getting the book out there and for the publisher to want to like put more, money behind it to get it in people's hands. I understand all of that, but I hate it so much. I just feel like I'm like, remember, I wrote a book. Hey guys, I wrote a book. Da, 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 I wrote a book. And I have to say, it's kind of funny because I'll see that you've posted and it makes me feel so much better. I'm like, oh God, thank God. Des posted about her book again. I can post again now. Like it's okay. Like, but yeah, it's not that I'm not proud of the book. It's not that I'm not proud of Simon and Schuster for taking a risk on me. It's not that I'm not proud to have worked with Mary and like created this amazing book, but it just feels like look at me, look at me, look at me, and it's hard. How have you been dealing with that?
I've fully embraced it. I'm like, let's go. The book was so hard to write. It was so fucking hard to write. And I was thinking about like these power bar panels with Josh where I'm like, I don't want to be like hogging the mic. I don't need to tell these long-winded stories. And then it was like, hell no, dude. I put so much effort into this. And so I've just like personally I've embraced it. I saw an author recently say, and I see this a lot, they're like, sorry for the shameless self-promotion. Here's my book again, trying to get like orders for whatever it is.
Mhm.
And I feel that way a little bit, but then I think of how much effort I put into it and how many people are backing it. And I was looking through my phone at this event, the first kind of event. We went to the running event and I was giving out flyers and signing and stuff like that. And we left the event, we went to this Brooks party, and then I put the flyers, I put them in my pocket. And then we left the Brooks party. It was like 11 p.m. And we went to this other party at this place. It's called Buck Wild. So poor decisions are being made. It had a mechanical bull. It wasn't a strip club. Buck Wild. So we're there, we're doing another thing. And then I looked at my phone later, a couple weeks later, and I had this picture I took. It was 2 a.m. in the morning. And I was meeting this guy for the first time who's a friend of a friend. And I'm like, he's like, let's take a photo and send it to Charlie. And I'm like, oh, like, because he was asking me what I was doing there. And I pulled out a flyer and I'm like, pimping my book at 2 a.m. in the morning at Buck Wild. And I'm just like, I'm going to embrace this. And I have this great post that I'm going to put on social. So you heard it here first. I'm like, if you don't, you have to be your own biggest fan, because if you don't love it, like no one else is going to do it for you. And I feel like that's a crummy lesson at times, but like I want to put so much passion into it that people are like, well, hell yeah, I have to read it. Like, look how good she thinks it is. And I do really, really believe in it, but like I'm just going to champion the crap out of that thing, because at the end of the day, it's kind of fun. It's kind of ridiculous. 2 a.m. at Buck Wild, I'm like selling my book. And then you just meet a ton of people and it's going to be fun and their stories are going to be cool. And we talked to Lauren on our last episode, and I think those connections afterwards will be really fun too. All within 1 hour time frame, where afterwards I go and cry into my hotel room pillow.
I'm impressed because I haven't embraced it, but now you're kind of motivating me to embrace it more. But I mean, it kind of goes back to like what you talked about earlier when you get like a social calendar from one of your sponsors and it's like, twice a month or 3 times a month, or this is what we're pushing now. And you're like, how do I authentically talk about this without being like, so this is the new shoe with ego foam, you know what I mean? It's like,
Right.
so it feels a little bit like that to me. But I love what you just said because it has been so much work. Like I started writing it in 2019.
It's also
And
your story. Like it's
yeah,
your story. And I think that that's just so cool to get a chance to put that on the page and share it with people. And it's a lot like the hard part of the race, like where you go, why? Like what's your why? Why did you write the book?
why
And when
did
you're
you write the
having,
book?
there's so many stories around that Boston win that people just don't know. And it'll be fun to give a peek behind the curtain of what was going on and some of the meaningful moments. And I think I've been on a million podcasts, I've talked about the race, but not in the full scope of what was going on around it and why um, it bought me time. It really bought me time in the sport.
Yeah.
What's your why?
Honestly, it started off a little bit like selfish. Like I was sick and tired of everyone else telling my story. Literally like a book being written about, about a lot of things, but like a lot of my own personal story. And I
Mhm.
just was like, let's see if someone will, let me tell my story. It was kind of like I don't even know how to describe it. Just like I got tired of other people talking about me without me being in the conversation. I think as the process went on, it became like really important to me because I think even though both of us, our venues are through running, it's really relatable to a lot of people. And it also helped me remember like I have stood up for myself and I have stood up for what's right, like all along the way, like starting back in high school. And sometimes you don't see those changes until years later, but there's value in doing the right thing in the moment because sometimes it feels really overwhelming. Like, well, I feel like this, but like, what am I actually going to do? And so it's been a good like walkthrough of. I just feel like it's like sends that message like do what you think is right because you won't regret it and may take forever, but things might come out of it, And then also just personally like it's hard, but also healing
Mhm.
and empowering. I hate that word, but it was empowering to be like, this was actually my life. I actually was there, and this is what happened. So, but the initial thing was just like, I'm sick of everyone talking about me. I'm going to do it on my own.
That's awesome. Are you proud of what's
Maybe.
on the page? No, I mean, you have the opportunity and what you do with it and what you put on the page. Like, do you feel I mean, I think we will look back and be like, both of us at some point will be like, I would have changed that or I would have tweaked
Yeah,
like
for
because
sure.
just what you do. But are you proud of what's getting put on the
In there?
pages?
Yeah, I'm sure you
Yeah.
went through this too because you worked with Bonnie Ford and then I worked with Mary Pallon. And so there was things that I at times thought were important that she didn't or things she thought were important that I was like, no, that barely affected me. And so it was a process of like almost like clay, right? Like you're taking some away, then you're adding some here if you're doing a sculpture, like, oh, that you really don't need that, but I kind of want to put this in. But I think the overall work, I am proud of how it turned out. It was painful reading it for the audiobook because I'd read it. I'm sure you had 1,000 revisions and 1,000 times where you had to go over the same thing over and over and over again. You're like, how are you not understanding that I don't like the way that sounds? So I knew the story. Obviously, it's my own story. But then reading it out loud felt really kind of intimidating of like, oh, this is real. And I'm actually sharing this stuff with people. But I am proud of it. I am proud of what happened on the pages or what got into the book.
So
Like there was some
go.
stuff that got taken out, which I thought mattered, like stupid stuff. Like when I was in elementary school, I was at a sleepover and did you ever play Girl Talk?
I don't think so.
Okay, so this is the most sexist game. So if you get something wrong or you get judged, you have to put a zit on your face, like an
Oh,
actual like
wow.
paper zit. I'm like, this is so messed up. But like things like whenever we would play, there was a card where you had to say like something you don't like about someone's face. And everybody would always talk about my mole. I have a mole on my face. And so things like that made me feel insecure early on. But then Mary's like, yeah, that has nothing to do with you standing up to Salazar. And I'm like, but it impacted me. I've always been self-conscious. I'm not the pretty one. I have a mole. And she's like, yeah, that has nothing to do with Salazar. So like it was helpful, I think, for me, for sure, to have another person to bounce everything off of. Because yeah, the girl talk story actually didn't need to be in the book.
We need to have a episode where it's like the outtakes,
Yes.
stories that didn't make it.
Stories on the cutting room floor that we thought were important that our publishers and co-authors were like, yeah, no, that's actually not important at all.
This is podcast material.
Yeah, yeah.
So we're getting like pretty close to an hour, which is impressive because I was like, this wasn't mapped out well enough. And I apologize because my week's been busy, but it's going to be about 15 minutes. So I'm actually really fired up that we've gotten this far into the conversation. But to bring it back, we have these books we're promoting and we've talked about being introverts. So we're doing that. And then we've also started a podcast. Like, I think the natural thing for people to get to the end of this would be like, I just don't buy it because, like you guys are chatty. You seem like you're putting a lot out there. This is a choice. One, when you saw the numbers, and we talked about this a little bit prior, but like when you saw the numbers of the response to the podcast, what was your reaction? And like, do you feel any pressure now? And then two, how does this fit in as like one more thing that we're like putting out into the world? Is it more like, how do you balance that when we're already talking about how we're introverts and we do all this extra stuff that we don't need to?
Right. Okay, so when we first had the reaction and the downloads and stuff, I felt like it was going to be big in the running industry because I feel like you are very, very popular. Like I kind of felt like, well, anything I do with Des is going to be successful in the running world because people love her. I mean, I just was listening to a podcast and Molly Seidel's like, I love Des Linden. Like everyone likes you, looks up to you, and you've been around for a long time. People have gotten like they've been able to look to you for a long time. So I felt like it would be successful in the running space. But when it was like number one across all sports on Apple Podcasts, I was like, holy shit. Like, no, I did not see that coming. And the thing that I was worried about and maybe continue to be worried about is I had a lot of people say, you guys obviously prepped. Thanks for doing that. And I'm like, oh, no, we did not. We
Well,
literally were
they'll
like,
learn today.
we're like, let's do an episode where we get to know each other better. Let's do like current events or something. And then like, let's riff on broadcasting. Like that was it. Right. But I think maybe that's part of the appeal is that I enjoy talking to you because I have no idea what you're going to say. And I kind of like it because it's like, we're just offering our perspectives, but I don't really know where it's going to go. And so I think that's one of the things that I'm nervous. I don't want us to feel like we have to pump out this machine. I want it to stay like you and me sharing our true thoughts and feelings on stuff. So that's like, it's good, but that's like my one little fear is like, oh, please don't let it be so big that we lose why we started it, you know? And what was your second question? Oh, an introvert. Oh, yeah. Well, this is fun. Like, this is fun for me. I don't have to be there when someone else listens to it. You know what I mean? In general, just real quick, I have like an awesome life. Like I get to like kind of run on a treadmill for a living. I get to like help design clothes. I get to like go around and talk about athletes, like first world problems here when I say I'm an introvert. And like, I just want to have my dinner by myself, you know, like just to be clear. I think we both probably would feel like we have pretty good lives, but I do get overwhelmed a lot. I just do. So this is like something that I'm adding to the plate. And maybe over time I will like not want to see your face and talk to you anymore. But like I've really enjoyed it so far. So for me, it feels like it's something kind of fun that I get to do. But now you
Totally.
answer both of your questions. What was your
Yeah.
reaction?
I was super impressed. I thought my first thing, and I think I texted you and Chris, was like, don't tell me that there's no audience for track or running. I mean, the numbers
Yes.
are pretty awesome. Like people, there's an interest, there's a hunger for this information. I get we dropped three at once, so that probably pumped things up, but it was cool. Like a running podcast was number one in sports. It was ahead of Pardon My Take, which they're kind of a big deal. Like I thought it was awesome in terms of we do have an audience, and that's really neat. And we have this platform where we can share ideas and kick around what's on our mind and what we think about in the sport and so on and so forth. So that'll be really fun. There was a little bit of pressure I felt coming into these next couple episodes where it's like, oh shoot, what if we don't hit what people want us to hit? Or what if this is like not on someone's radar and they're like, oh, they've lost it already or whatever. um, but I think authenticity is going to be key, and this is what's fun for us. And this conversation, came in with a loose outline and had a really enjoyable conversation about a lot of different things and brought a lot of fun perspectives. And I think that'll be key in finding our voice and fitting in other voices and just experimenting. And I think hopefully we do this for a while and people can look back and see the growth and the improvement and the development of a show as we find our way. Because I think we'll just continue to dial it in. So that'll be fun. And so that kind of alleviates the whole component of pressure where it's like, it's sort of an experiment, which we're just tinkering with right now. And as far as adding it to the plate, like you said, super fun. I feel like if I were in a room and X amount of people who downloaded we're all in the audience. Absolutely not. I'd be like, this is my last show, one and done. We done. This has been cute, but we're not doing it. But like one-on-one conversations, I thrive. Three people, I start getting a little tight. Four people, I'm like, you guys chat. So guests, I'll probably like step back a little bit. You can run point. And I think that maybe that'll be our rhythm. But maybe I'll stretch myself and engage more on 3-person screens as well. We'll see. So
You
I'm
will.
excited about where it goes.
Awesome. Me
Cool.
too.
All right. Well, I think that's a wrap for this one, and we'll be speaking in your guys' ears soon, I guess. Episode 6.